Welcome everybody to Now You See TV. I am John Pounders, and today we are bringing on a guest who's going to be talking about an underground network that is actually supposed to be taking over in Australia, and it has a lot to do with children and pedophilia and all these things. So I'm going to put a disclaimer on the show. First off, if you have young children listening, this may not be the show to listen to. Second off, I do not know the guest that we're having on. I know that he has contacted me several times to come on, but I do not know him personally. I don't know, the facts about this case, but I'm bringing him on to tell his story anyway, so you guys can decipher through it, look and see what you think about this whole thing. And that's pretty much the disclaimer that I have. John, how's it going, brother?
Well, I think listening to our guest, prior to the show, I think that was really well said, John. That we need to put a disclaimer. This is a family day here in the States. Most of the folks out there have been celebrating, Thanksgiving. If you do that, and you have family members, and you're watching Now You See TV tonight, we're going to be talking about some issues that are going on in Australia that is going to be it's problematic, probably worldwide. And we're going to be talking about these things, and he's going to bring up some subjects that's going to be difficult for your kids to be hearing. So if they're in the room, please, get them an activity, or, come back to this show a little bit later and watch it. But this is going to be some information that's seriously important to listen to, I think.
Yeah, so we're excited to talk about it. Like I said, we can't, this is something that we can't fully verify ourselves, just because we haven't had time to research it. And we, almost every show, we always have the idea that you only can know for sure by doing research, no matter who it is we have talking. So you guys feel free to research this information. I know his story is definitely okay, thank you. It was only, sorry, I'm at home, guys. We had a family day here too, but it's only, it's very shocking, let's to say the least, and it's also very compelling. And so this is why we're doing this tonight, just to throw it out there in case it is true, or in case if it's not true, then whatever. But we don't, normally we have people on that we've researched well, but I think Luke brings some stuff to the table that we may need to hear. So we're gonna let him out. Luke, how's it going, buddy?
Hello, how are you there in America this Thanksgiving Day?
Well, it is nighttime for us here. It's 8:00 p.m. So it's been a good day for us. We just spent time with family a little bit and hung out and get all that good stuff. So that's what we've been up to today. What is it like over there for Thanksgiving in your neck of the woods?
Just another day in Vietnam. They don't have a holiday here for it, of course. It's a socialist country. I've been living in exile for 10 years and 2 weeks exactly, since the 3rd of November 2007, when I left Australia. A week after leaving Australia, I became accused of the country's rarest crime. If you put that law into Google and Google it, which is 60C of the New South Wales Crimes Act, only I and the government come up. There's a 100% conviction rate and 100% death in custody rate before me. There was 2 people accused before me.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay.
Give us a good background on what we're talking about here.
Okay, well, what we'll be talking about is case law, not conspiracy theory. It's very easy to verify if case law exists. There are state websites in Australia, and there is a national website for verifying the details of case law. The Australian website for case law, and I'll be referencing names you can type into this website, like people type stuff into Google, is AustLII, the Australian Legal Information Institute, or AUSTLII.edu.au. I'll be talking about my father's case, my friend's case, and many other cases that your listeners can type into that government case law website to verify the persecution of Christians by the gay elite and the normalization of pedophilia by the crime of dissenting against it. This affects me personally because after I became a political refugee from the special gay police, which have their own Facebook page, a government Facebook page called facebook.com/police GLBTI. It was made before they standardized it as LGBT. On that page, they praise teenagers doing genital mutilation and converting themselves into transgenders. In Australian government hospitals, at Westmead Children's Hospital Gender Dysphoria Unit, 3-year-old boys are being castrated to make their gay dads proud. And at the Gay Pride Sydney Mardi Gras event, when Inner City Legal Centre walks past, the taxpayer-funded lawyers who go to the gay judges to order a child's genitals be removed through a court order were praised. So Australia is a country that is actually allowing gay parents to medically abuse their child. In America, it's no different. In Oregon, if a doctor told a child who was raped by a homosexual, you don't have to be gay, that doctor would be doing a crime against the state and must be sentenced to 12 months jail. If any Christian Mass Resistance in America is the main organization that's fighting safe schools in your country, and Alliance Defending Freedom, and we have a similar battle in Australia. So there's been many court cases you can look up. There's one example of gay men walking into a Christian adoption center and saying, "Give us free babies." That is CAS. Oh, sorry, that is that case is OW and OV, because they obscure the names of the two gay men in case law, versus Wesley City Mission. And that case dragged on for 8 years. Gays say Christians must hand over babies to us. It's now no longer legal anymore because a lesbian politician, her name is Penny Sharp, MLC, horse traded with Christian conservatives to get through a gay bill, an exemption from Christian adoption agencies as it stands now. In America, you're all obsessed with trannies in bathrooms. They never tell you about the first ever transsexual to get a taxpayer-funded sex change. That is Noel, Noel, Crompton Hall. Okay, he was a man with male sex organs who was ordered into a woman's prison. Multiple women were raped. The man who wrote the book on gay marriage for the Yes plebiscite, Australia just voted for gay marriage allegedly, even though the election, the postal vote was known to have a history of fraud. Disenfranchising overseas postal voters since 2004. It's no secret the vote was rigged. But the guy who wrote the Yes vote, Christopher Puplik, AM, who got Order of Australia, he ordered this man to go into a woman's prison where 4 women were raped and rape charges were filed. Nobody takes a rape allegation seriously in prison unless there is police interviews, DNA testing, rape kits, the whole kit and caboodle. But so the leader of the gay lobby could get Order of Australia for ordering men with penises into women's restrooms in women's jails, he got Order of Australia as a gay hero. That the equivalent level of disgust would be those who organised the mass prison rapes in Iraq and Abu Ghraib getting Congressional Medal of Honour. That is how far Australia has gone. When we praise gay heroes who, and then he gets a job heading up justicehealth.gov, nsw.gov.au. He has the power to drug any inmate and in jail and declare them mentally unfit. And he also, after causing the biggest AIDS cluster in a woman's prison on earth, he's a consultant for the government to, what's his job? The Ministerial Task Force to stop the spread of AIDS, HIV and Hep C. So after causing the biggest AIDS cluster by making a policy a gay men with AIDS must use a woman's toilet at Silverwater Female Remand Centre, and then after this guy did the rapes, he got 40 grand from the government for a sex change in prison, both through the through the Anti-Discrimination Board of New South Wales, which Christopher Public was the president of, and then through the gendercentre.org.au that gets money from Christopher Public, AM, Order of Australia Gay Hero, man who wrote the book on the Australian gay marriage yes vote for Australian marriage equality. Through his, he was the chairman of Southern Sydney Area Health Service that gave them 250 grand. And now this rapist of woman lives in free accommodation with free food and everything from the gender centre. And it's just unbelievable how corrupt the system is, how pedophiles are being let out of jail. We've got adoption agencies in Australia that prefer to only give children to gay men, even though the US CDC says 1.7% of the population is homosexual. And bravehearts.org.au child abuse fact sheet says that 35% of all sexual abuse is done against little boys and by men, because 90% of pedophiles are male. So I'm sure you can do the math. I would give the gays a maximum 3% of the population with the higher levels of indoctrination, since the US Centre for Disease Control worked out 1.7% of America is gay. But, and that's including lesbians as well. So if 1% is raping 35% of all the children, discriminating against gay homosexuals being teachers is of great benefit to children. And that's why parents want to pay a premium to send their children to a Christian school. And just for saying that I don't want to have a gay teacher in my preschool, which is actually legal in Victoria, a Victorian grandmother who's going to the High Court this month, Tess Corbett and Bernard Gaynor are going to the High Court versus one character called Gary Burns, who sued my dad and sued John Sunhold, who may be a guest in this broadcast if he clicks on the link. She said, I support the law. I support Section 24 of the Victorian, what's the name of the law? Equal Opportunities Bill, that allows lawful discrimination against gay teachers, because that bill was made in the mid-90s, before the gay lobby was as dominant as they are now on the political scene. And to get the bill passed, that concession was made. So this grandmother, a political candidate, says, I support the status quo. I'm a conservative. I support the law on the books. She's now facing contempt of court proceedings to jail her for being a political candidate, supporting the status quo, the laws on the books, opposing queer law reform. If you oppose the gay agenda to change the law, you'll be sent to jail for refusing to pay for, as ordered by a panel of gay judges in court, an apology ad in the newspaper with the exact words the tribunal said. And these tribunals are in Australian mainstream news for ordering convicted pedophiles to play with kids again, i.e. working with children's certificates is a framework. If you're a teacher, a doctor, you work in a youth organisation, you have to have checks done by the police in Australia, or a government department, not the police. And if you don't like them saying, no, you're a convicted pedophile, you can't play with kids, you can go to a panel of gay judges in a gay tribunal called the New South, which is the same tribunal which we're going to cover, which has been working with the Ordo Templi Orientis. And not only do they have the job of appealing these decisions, these tribunals, they have the job of saying homosexual, HIV, or transgender vilification thought crimes and religious vilification thought crimes. So if you don't like the Ordo Templi Orientis, whose religious doctrine in the Gnostic Catholic Mass is forcing children to watch a priestess disrobe and do either oral sex or simulated oral sex with the high priest in their Gnostic Catholic Mass ritual, for which there are videos online, for which there are photographs of young girls and naked priests online, and there's their published doctrine, and then their leaked training videos of the head of the OTO in America. I looked up his real name before, I forgot off the top of my head, but he goes by the tag Frater Siberius X, is what he calls himself. He's on camera in a leaked 1996 training video saying, yes, We drink blood, and yes, we want to have real children present in a Gnostic Catholic Mass where the priestess goes naked. Now, a religion of child orgy, or at least child orgy passive participation, shouldn't have tax-exempt status, shouldn't have charity status like it does in America and Australia, because under tax law, that's now evolved into charity law, if your religious doctrine mandates something which is criminal under the common law, like the Children of God cult, which was in America and Australia back in the day, it's no religion at all. But this religion of child orgies is trying to jail more Christians, like John Sunholt again in 2017. And previously, you're going to ask me hopefully next about the time a Christian couple was sent directly to jail without appearing in court. It's like they can actually black bag you and take you off to jail. And then the OTO members on their blogs were saying you're going to die in jail on their blogs. That's the level it's gone to in Australia. No due process. And Bernard Gaynor's and that grandmother Tess Corbett's High Court challenge is all about jurisdiction. They won a case in the highest court of New South Wales saying other states like Melbourne, Victoria, and don't have jurisdiction over New South Wales citizens. And Vivian Legge and Dyson Devine were in a state where there was no blasphemy laws, no crime of not loving the religion of child orgies, founded by Aleister Crowley, who writes poems called, in his book White Stains, Ballad to Passive Pederasty. I mean, can you imagine Christians being thrown in jail for not respecting a satanic pedophile cult founded by a man who writes in the margins of his books he had sex with 150 boys and writes poems about sodomizing young boys. And the key thing about the OTO is the highest level in its order. Look this up. Master of the Hermit Triad XI, level 11. It's a master of anal sex magic. It is the religion of Sodom.
I got a quick question. I got a quick question for you. When did you get into this fight? You said you were in exile. When did you get into this fight?
Well,
fighting against this atrocity, because this is, I'm sitting here while you're talking and I am lifting you and those involved down there up to the Father in prayer, because I'm like almost puking in my mouth, because that is some.
Yeah, they've come after my interview of how it all started is on my YouTube channel, which is Hojuruku. It means Aussie Luke in Korean. Hojuruku. In the interview section, there's a video with a black background and the logo the special gay police wear, which is designed by the Waffen Nazi SS. And if you don't believe that special gay police in Australia wear Nazi-designed apparel, then you're a Holocaust denier, okay? So each to their own. So pink-triangle.org is the gay website about the Great Holocaust. And that's the logo that's on the police badges that they wear. Now, how did it all start? I was just a regular guy, and I found out that my gay neighbor called special gay police to my house to help an illegal immigrant get a visa extension from a visa of last resort, because in Australia, the people who have the last say in giving visas is not immigration. It's the police. And speaking of immigration, just segue for 10 seconds, David Bottrell, who is the treasurer of the OTO, who does all these lawsuits against anyone who criticizes the sex cult in Australia. And I believe all these lawsuits started off as a tax rort, because under tax law, it says, if your religion, in double quotes, isn't listed under the Marriage Act schedule of mainstream religions, including Christianity, then you have to get a court to say you're a religion in case law. And how do you do that? You sue a Christian. So the persecution of Christians has made these Satanists get all the tax benefits of the family court. No goods and services tax, no property tax, no income tax, and any donations are tax deductible and tax free. So if you want to give money to your local satanic pedophile cult that forces children to watch sex magic orgies, it's tax deductible in Australia, or because Christians were persecuted and they took what's on the documents on otoaustralia.org.au, the enemy's website, /legal, directly to the tax office. That's those documents are Dr. Rena Mickelson, Young Australian of the Year finalist, 1997, who ran the Child Sexual Abuse Prevention Society, Inc., the first people that the Ordo Templi Orientis sued in Australia. And Legg and Devine, I'll be honest, they are UFO figu nut jobs, but they were only sued for publishing her leaked dossier. Because the OTO likes suing people who aren't very good at defending themselves and don't have the means to pay for high-priced lawyers. The most recent example is I did an interview on activist-news.com, who's another Christian activist in Australia who exposes Zionism. And a woman in Tasmania only linked to my episode, Interview 7, on her Facebook. She got a letter from David Bottrell saying, I'm suing you for linking to this YouTube video, and she's now before the courts. Now, why does David Bottrell not sue the guy who interviewed me in Australia, who is in Australia? Why does he sue a woman who's a full-time anti-pedophilia activist in Launceston, Tasmania, who's obsessed with fighting pedophiles? Can you see a pattern here? If you don't like sex with children, the OTO will come for you. They are child sex normalization activists. And hopefully we can get John in, who's actually has to go to court face to face with David Bottrell, treasurer of the Ordo Templi Orientis in Australia. So my story is on my YouTube channel and minute detail with my dad. After my dad did that interview, he was sued. Do you know what my dad's great crime is? He went to Vietnam. He used the internet. He linked to his son's YouTube channel. Yes, John Sunhol's been sued for linking to my YouTube channel by a gay activist. Now my own dad gets sued and had to spend 30 grand in legal fees in court, and he kept being sued again and again and again. In the end, he just had to pack up shop and leave Australia to New Zealand. But legally, they can still take his house in New Zealand with a treaty they have called the Backing of Warrant Scheme. Anyway, so my dad was in Vietnam. This is what he did. He signed a causes.com petition. The petition name was Facebook should stop distributing illicit images of children. He linked to a video on my YouTube channel which features Hereward Fenton of truthnews.com.au, yet another person sued by David Bottrell and the OTO, who was playing audio of state media praised gay marriage activist Mark Newton and Peter Trong, who put the state media put a photograph of a Russian child that looks nothing like them on their website, and they talked about how they broke Australian law to procure the child doing overseas exploitive commercial surrogacy. There is a 1-hour documentary which ABC keeps trying to take down from YouTube, made by the Australian taxpayer and a lesbian journalist, Carol Meldrum Hanna, called The Boy with the Henna Tattoo, about the case. That's neglecting that they're published gay marriage activists having sex with a baby. And at the end, it ends with these gay marriage activists who rape infants have nothing to do with the gay marriage debate. There is nothing to see here. What gay marriage activists do in their own time to babies has no reflection on homosexuality whatsoever. I know, but if you watch that documentary, which is still on many YouTube channels, you can see that John Rouse, the head of the police and the Task Force Argos police unit in Australia, whose job to hunt down pedophiles, saying, yes, we met them in person. Yes, they confessed to the crime of doing overseas exploitive criminal surrogacy, but we let them go to America, where they're now in jail for 40 years. And you can see that on the American Bureau of Prisons, BOP.gov, inmate finder. You can see which prison they are. I think one of them's in Florida right now, in a prison in the Mariana Detention Center. So this is a real world scenario. So my dad linked to a video of this gay marriage activist saying it's homophobic to oppose us getting babies, and how bad the Russian police were delaying us leaving the airport before we went on a global gay marriage activist infant sex, child sex tourism. The Australian government, get this, broke Australian law to give these men a passport without a DNA test. I'm in the third world in Vietnam, and when I married my wife, and we have a beautiful daughter, I had to do a DNA test, okay, to get my visa and my joint custody of my daughter. But no. Australian government is letting gay men go all around the world and say, I fancy that child I'm going to take off the street, that baby I took from a pram or whatever, and get an Australian passport for it, and off on the plane they go. It's happening en masse. The head of the Australian Human Rights Commission, Tim Wilson, bought 2 Thai babies from New Life IVF, who you always find at every gay pride event in America trying to sell babies to gays. Their operative, Tammy Davis Charles, is now in Cambodia for human trafficking. And I've got to go to the Thai embassy and give them my dossier on her working in Thailand so she can have another 2 years jail. Yeah, so the head of the Human Rights Commission in Australia has 2 Thai babies in his possession, bought from a convicted Australian human trafficker, now rotting in a Cambodian jail. And the Australian humanrights.gov.au website says 1 in 5 males have done sodomy. 1 in 5 of us are sodomites. We are 11% gay. He outdid OTO member Alfred Kinsey, who Hollywood was praising, a pedophile who in his book Sexual History of the American Male has a table of infant age and time to orgasm. That's why gays believe children are sexually active from birth. That's why there is sex education in America. And that's why the model penal code in America was modified to reduce the penalty for sex offenders, because it's natural. Even babies like it, was the research from Dr. Alfred Kinsey, an OTO member. And there's lots of videos. I think there's a couple of documentaries about that on YouTube. There's Kinsey's Pedophiles, and the best one is Kinsey Syndrome.
I actually did a video on Kinsey roughly, almost 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, Kinsey was a definite, if he wasn't a pedophile himself, I'd be surprised, but he had pedophiles doing his statistics for him about how often children would orgasm, which is disgusting and yeah, it's crazy. Now, obviously, like I said before, I haven't had time to verify all your information, but I will say this, that people think that this is unheard of and unfounded and also like impossible. But if you look back in history at ancient Greece, and you look back to the archaic and classic periods, pedestry was idealized and in ancient literature and stuff. So pedestry is basically where an adult male has a younger child, as sometimes they have a wife as well, but they have this younger child for sexual fantasies and stuff along those lines. So, there was also, you see this stuff in not every country, but most ancient civilizations, whether it be China, whether it's Japan, whether it's, you just name it just about. I did a paper on it not too long ago. Some of you guys saw it, and I can't remember everything that was in there, but without being able to verify the information you've given, there has been times when this is the normal, and it looks like that's what we're heading towards, at least in Australia and America and other countries along those lines. But anyways, I'll let you continue. I know we've kind of gotten into one of the reasons you've got into the fight, but now, so tell me this, how many people are aware of this going on in Australia? Is this something that is a very widespread, disturbing thing to people, or is this something that they're kind of dumbed down about, kind of like people in America that watch mainstream media? They don't understand what's going on. It's going on right in front of their face, but they don't see it because the mainstream media covers up. Is it like that in Australia, or do people generally have an idea of what's going on?
The mainstream media is on complete blackout. Reverend Fred Niles is talking about this court case on the Christian Democrat Party's Facebook page. If you see the post from the 4th of July this year, he's linked to a video mentioning it. And apart from him and Bernard Gaynor, and maybe a little bit from Mark Latham, No one is mentioning it. And I mean, I'm the man accused of the rarest crime in Australia, and they won't touch me. It's almost as like there's a defence advisory D notice in effect, where the national security apparatus can censor the media in Australia and England. A defence advisory notice, or D notice for short. The Australian people need to know that the government is normalising pedophilia by criminalising dissent against it. The court ruled if you have sex with a baby but have a gay partner, you still must not be vilified. And my dad wasn't even in Australian jurisdiction. On my Scribed account, you can see all the case law documents. I'm just putting a link in the chat here to your guest to put in the YouTube description. Scribed_Luke McKee. scribd.com/Luke McKee. You can see a whole bunch of court submissions. There's a few more I have to upload, which were prepared by my father and to aid John and his own case as well. Most of the content on there isn't mine. It's just documents I wanted to share. You can actually see the stuff from the OTO. Also on my YouTube channel, there's a in-depth video with Jim Fetzer in HD. And my face is a very small little window in the bottom right corner with Professor Jim Fetzer. And in HD, we go over all the government letterhead of the ACT Human Rights Commission saying you must respect satanic pedophile cults. We play audio of their officers talking to Tess Corbett, one of the High Court applicants fighting the OTO, the Christian grandmother, confronting this Asian American woman who's from New York, who's come to Australia to work for an Australian government department to tell Australian citizens, you must hail Satan or go to jail. So actually, you know, it's so real, you can actually listen to the scumbags in governments doing this. I put up her home address on the internet. That's how real it is, you know. And the website got censored by a court order from the OTO pedophile cult, but some of the stuff that I did publish, John is being... Now, here's the deal. Google, as you know, allows people with their Google accounts to publish stuff. John was previously sued for linking to my YouTube video, which is tinyurl.com/ABC plugs pedos. That video is just this government state media saying sorry for praising gay marriage activists who have sex with babies. It's made by government in Australia, so it's not an offensive link. The judge says the description for the video and people criticizing baby rapists Mark Newton and Peter Trong is hate speech against homosexuals, because the gay judge ruled that homosexuals and baby rapists are interchangeably must be respected. Now, it gets better. In the YouTube description for this video is a link to an academic paper written by Robert Oscar Lopez, PhD, published on thepublicdiscourse.com, called Same-Sex Marriage, Is It Child Abuse? ? With a link to it. The judge in Australian case law ruled Robert Oscar Lopez is a hate criminal for writing that. Luke McKee before you now is a hate criminal because he linked to that. And John Sunol linked from his blog at a time I didn't share with him to my YouTube that linked to Robert Oscar Lopez, PhD. Who is Robert Oscar Lopez, PhD? He is an ex-gay Latino Christian who was raped as a 13-year-old boy in a house of gay parenting. He gave the main evidence in the US Supreme Court case against gay marriage. Oberfeld versus Hughes, I think, from the top of my memory. You know that you can look up the case, you can look up his submission, okay? It's Klein and Lopez made the submission together, okay? You can find the document in question. He has said on video he was abused as a child. He is a child rape victim of gay parenting. Obama celebrated child rape victims losing in their Supreme Court fighting against gay marriage by saying, ha ha, child rape victims, you lost. I'm going to celebrate your loss by putting a selection of rainbow-colored flashlights all over the White House. That's how far your country's gone as well. Unbelievable.
Did you have to, when you were exiled, did you have to flee the country in danger of your life, or how did that transpire?
Very good question. I suspected I was under police surveillance. My father said I was paranoid. I left the country because at that stage I had won against the illegal immigrant who got deported. The whole saga is covered in a 3-hour interview with me, my father and myself on my YouTube channel on the Topher's Unpopular View video. And because my dad in the podcast called Gay Police Evil, that's why he was targeted by gay marriage activists with close links to Deputy Commissioner Catherine Judith Burns and the New South Wales Police, Mr. Gary Burns, her brother. So I left the country a free man. My security license was reinstated. I won in court. I found out from my neighbours that 5 police, one with a door-breaching baseball bat kind of device, raided my house in Leichhardt in New South Wales, and where I lived, 7 to 16 William Street, Leichhardt. And my neighbours were number 10, and they told me. I called them up because they had a problem with police too. There was another person there's actually an Australian movie filmed in my house. There's a movie called Square the Movie. It was filmed in my block of flats, and you actually see it midway. It's the place next to the Cyclops toy store, old toy store, toy factory building. You can see in the movie. Now, so my neighbours tell me my house was raided. I called the local court, and I got the search warrant when I was sitting in Korea, and I got the search warrant, and then for 2 years, I didn't know what 60C was. There's nothing on the internet about 60C other than it is the crime of obtaining true personal information on a law enforcement officer that incriminates said officer. I added the last bit. It gets you 5 years jail. And 60B Crimes Act is an even more obscene law, which would also apply in my case, because I found out that the gay police officer, Kate Howe, that was sent to my house by my gay neighbour to help an illegal immigrant get a visa. I only found she's gay because I Googled her, and I found her on the 2010.org.au charity that gays run. They run a safe space for gay child prostitutes right next to what is called The Wall in Sydney, Australia, where gay prostitution occurs. And we know where the great gay judge, Justice Kirby, allegedly drove his government car to have sex with children and was exposed in Parliament by Senator Heffernan. You can listen to the audio for that. Technically, he got off because the car driver who gave the affidavit went to ground. And so 2010.org.au is exposed on kidsrights.org.au, aka the Australian Family Association, as a group that's involved with the Safe Schools initiative that tell young children to go to pornography websites. Because, gays can only increase their numbers through the sexual abuse of children or the grooming of children. Or the medical abuse now with, 3-year-old boys losing their sex organs to make their gay parents proud, done by government surgeons. It's unbelievable. I mean, the Australian Christian lobby is writing about this. And like in America, you have the Family Research Council that was attacked by a gay terrorist who wanted to shove Chick-fil-A sandwiches in dead Christians' mouths. And in Australia, we had a George Soros-trained US Democrat staffer who was Australian, who came back from San Francisco to Sydney and drove a car full of gas canisters into the Australian Christian lobby after Googling on the internet, all about them and how to make bombs. And then while the guy allegedly walked 5 kilometers to a hospital with first-degree burns, which is unbelievable, and one day after it happened, the head of this ACT police was saying it wasn't a politically motivated attack. There's nothing to see here. Gays only love Christians. They could never bomb the peak political Christian lobby in Australia. And there's a video that got censored by Channel 7 News on my YouTube channel of the ACT police chief saying there's nothing to see here. It's not political. He's in a coma, but we know we already know that he wasn't a political attack in the middle of the night. It was a traffic accident. It's like saying Islamic terrorists in don't kill people. It's just a truck accident, you know, in France, for example, which has happened. It doesn't make any sense.
What happened to the believers down there? I mean, you have people like yourself and John Suno who are fighting a fight, your dad. Are they just silent? What's going on down there? I mean,
Okay.
Are they being persecuted or silenced, or they're just afraid to say anything? They're not walking around with the Ruach shouting at the top of their lungs that children are being abused down there. Because, you know, being myself, don't come to Kentucky. Don't let me find out you're doing this stuff, because you will end up dead. And I said that on YouTube, and I don't care who sees this.
Right. In Australia, there was a system for the for executing the pedophiles. It was called outlaw motorcycle gangs. Long before I used to work in, I fell back on my body with dignity. If I stand up, I'm 6'10". Okay. Between IT contracts, I worked as a bouncer. You can go to www.police.nsw.gov.au/SIR and punch in my number, which is, from the top of my head, 408-634-470. And I was a bouncer. And in that industry, you're exposed to a lot of unsavory types, you know, bikie gangs, all that kind of stuff, working in pubs and clubs, as well as construction sites and what have you. I wasn't working at houses of ill repute like my other bouncer friends were, but some of them were. And I learned long before I became political or fought with these gay police that the outlaw motorcycle gangs, or as you have in America, Bikers Against Child Abuse or backerworld.org,
Right.
were sponsoring all the children's hospitals to get intelligence because the police weren't doing enough. And the pedophile elite, i.e. the United Nations, said we have to shut this down. We're going to make it a crime for person A to meet person B. We're going to criminalize associations. We're going to declare all outlaw motorcycle gangs criminal organizations and shut down, because the motorcycle gangs would kill pedophiles to prove you weren't a cop. Now, these people aren't good, okay? They are criminals. But to prove you weren't a cop, you would have to kill a pedophile. And that's how people went from prospects to being a made member or man. And, you know, the general public knew it and tolerated them because of they were a necessary evil. I'd say it's an act of love for children, rebuking satanic pedophile cults, but the government says you must hail Satan or go to jail, which is what is happening in Australia. I mean, in the description, I've sent some links in the email to John Pounders. Put those case law links on this YouTube video description and wake people up. This is case law, not conspiracy theory. Now, I want to talk about
crawling out of my skin. I am absolutely crawling out of my skin.
The most shocking
This is horrific.
The most shocking case is in 2008. Imagine being sent directly to jail for disrespecting a satanic pedophile cult and not having a day in court, contrary to Section 25 of the Victorian Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006, that says you have a right to appear in court in person. Anyone found to breaching this, any justice found to breach this legislation, you can go to jail for 12 months. Now, like I said before, Leg & Devine just published a dossier from Dr. Rena Mickelson, head of the Child Sexual Abuse Society. Before Leg & Devine was sued by the OTO, without naming the OTO, she was debating the head police commissioner on ABC government radio about a child sex cover-up without going into specifics. That's how much credibility she had. Primetime government radio, ombudsman covering up police protecting pedophiles, a Young Australian of the Year award winner in child psychology, and a Christian. Now, little did she know, by signing the document on otoaustralia.org.au, the enemy's website, /legal, she gave a blank check to them to say, we are a religion that is tax exempt. You know, that's the motive. There's financial motive from persecuting her in that case. So Leg and Devine were in New South Wales, where there's no blasphemy laws. The highest court in the state, this year finally, in the New South Wales Supreme Court of Appeals, number 3 case for this year, Burns, pedophile boy lover Gary Burns, versus Gaynor, bernardgaynor.com.au, and Victorian grandmother Tess Corbett, who said, I don't want gays or pedophiles in my school, as I'm allowed to say, as it's legal to discriminate against gays and pedophiles in Victoria, because the law that the homosexual vilification, they don't have homosexual vilification in Victoria, they only have homosexual discrimination laws. And there's an exemption for schools up to tertiary education to say no gay teachers, because all the Christian lobby fought for that exemption because Christian schools don't want to have gay teachers around the parents of Christians, or their customers would stop paying the school fees and go to another Christian school without gay teachers. Now,
you know, it sounds like, I don't know if this is going to be dealt with within the current law that's down there. I mean, do you see a way out of this using the current law? Because it seems
shocking.
like there's no way.
I got the ACT Attorney General to intervene in, that's like the DA, but the whole DA department even bigger, the political DA department. The government DA said Luke McKee intervened in this Johnson Hole case and said Luke McKee is right. The highest court in New South Wales has spoken. We in the ACT don't have jurisdiction over Johnson Hole, just like the OTO child sex cult using laws in Victoria didn't have jurisdiction over someone in New South Wales. And the ACT Human Rights Commission that just put out a document about transgender athletes. You know, they claim to support violence against women, but the Victorian Human Rights Commission follows Fallon Fox on Twitter. That's a man that gets to paid money to punch women in the face as hard as he can on pay-per-view mixed martial arts combat. But he's not a woman. He's got XY chromosomes. He's not a woman. And if you use the wrong gender pronoun in England or California, you go to jail. I mean, it's getting insane. And Canada, I think it is, the gender pronoun law. But that's what we're dealing with. That's how political correctness has gone completely insane.
Wow. Absolutely.
Go see their Twitter account, VEOHRC for verification, and the ACT Human Rights Commission, I'm sure you can find. And ask them on Twitter, why did you go against your own Attorney General and it's prosecuting poor John Sunol? Now, John Sunol has been sued 90 times. There's about 20 or 30 cases in case law, but there's multiple complaints bundled together by one gay man. John Sunol has brain injury. He can't defend himself in court, and he's a Christian. He had a car accident, hence the brain injury. So let's persecute the brain-damaged Christian who can't defend himself as a patsy to establish the case law we can use against bigger people. Who are the bigger people? Let's sue the Catholic Archdiocese of Hobart for telling children we don't support gay marriage in a handout from our schools. And let's use this case law to demand Christians tell children gay sex is okay in the request. That was Martin Delaney, a Greens candidate, that did that lawsuit in Tasmania. And I exposed to the Anglican Archdiocese, the Catholic Archdiocese for Hobart behind the scenes, that the anti-discrimination commissioner in Tasmania who sued the whole Catholic Church, Robin Banks, worked for the Public Interest Advocacy Centre that works pro bono for taxpayer funded for the OTO child sex cult and the infant sex normalization activist Gary Burns' blog on Twitter, who sued my dad. So the money comes from the same people, from the gay lobby and the OTO. And I caught up I have an arrest warrant probably for calling up the barrister for the OTO, Ian Freckleton QC, the other day. He didn't know who I was. He goes, I know you've been calling me for 1 year from Telstra payphones. I'm going to get you hunted down and arrested. I'm going, he's like a high court judge for Nauru too, which is an island nation near Australia. I got him on tape doing this. It's like, you do know, when I said I'm a political refugee, political refugees aren't generally in the country they're a refugee from. So how would I use these Telstra payphones to harass you? Did you just make a false allegation on tape, you moron? That's the lawyer. And get this, he was writing papers. You'll love him now, the lawyer for the OTO in the Leg Divine case, Ian Freckleton QC. He was writing papers in 2001 in the New Zealand Law Reform Journal debunking satanic ritual abuse. It doesn't exist. Just last month in Oregon, with the Charles Emery and the Emery brothers, who are all Masons, the prosecutor says, yes, 3 years ago, he confessed in a police station that he had sex with his granddaughter, okay? But he wasn't arrested. Maybe he did the Masonic widow son symbol or whatever it is to go free. But now we're getting him, and we've found a whole house full of child porn and a, quote, satanic ritual abuse manifesto. And I linked to that document on the Vote Pizzagate forums, where I published most of my research to the links I emailed you before the show, and I got banned for that. So I don't know what their problem is. But yeah, this is actually, prosecutors say it happened. OTO in America is involved with the Boy in the Box case, which could possibly be linked to Charles Manson. I'm sure John can talk about this more. But there's the Boy in the Box who was locked in a cage by the OTO Solar Lodge for months at a time. I looked up his birth death records. He'd only made it to 16. Poor, poor kid. And then there's the Kid Willie in Wales, where an Aleister Crowley followers, like, always the media never says Auto Templi Orientis. They always say Aleister Crowley followers, you understand? But, raped a girl 1,600 times. You've got many documented case of OTO abusing children. And if you want to be blown away, everyone, go to the Austlii case law website, okay? Okay, Austlii, Aust is in Australia, the first part of Australia, AUST, LII, Legal Information Institute.edu, like it's a university-run case law website, .au for Australia, and type in LEGG space divine with an E, DEVINE. One case in there.
Before you go any further, I've got to do this, okay? I have to do this. I've got to do this.
Okay.
Father, for those who are listening tonight on IUC TV, who will be listening in the future, and not only myself, but my family who is watching this, being exposed to what's happening, Father, set your hedge of protection around us, temper our spirits so that we can think clearly and that we can come before you and lift this issue up before you. There's a fight, a war going on in this world, Father, not only in Australia, but in America and across the world, Father, against the evil one, Hasatan. Father, set your hedge of protection around our hearts. Give us your clarity, your wisdom on how to deal with this and how to move forward. As he's given this information, Father, and giving us the websites to check this information out, keep us tempered, keep us even keeled so that we can think clearly on how to move forward with the information that's being provided tonight. Set your hedge of protection around those kids. Father, you love them, and they're in a fallen world, and we need you right now. This is a very difficult topic, Yahweh. Again, set your hedge around our hearts. Give us your wisdom and clarity of mind as we move forward in this show. In Yeshua's name, amen. I'm sorry, I just had to do that. This is very difficult information to take. I am getting angry. I'm just sitting here stewing over this.
You can imagine this has been, okay, I've just gone I've got holes in my teeth now. I'm going to the dentist because whenever I think about this, my rage is so much, I grit my teeth. You know,
No
I've even
doubt.
been biting my thumb with rage. The anger at this son of a, okay, explode later, not saying. Okay, so the gay judge in the case that ruled my dad must respect pedophiles, Mark Newton and Peter Trong, jailed in America for 40 years for sodomizing a Russian infant. Guess what he puts on his own law firm blog? I specialize in representing pedophiles. In my law firm that's partnered with an American law firm, Holman Webb Legal. And he's taken it down, but there's a law research website that like LexisNexis that has another copy. And I'll go put a link in the description and on the chat now where you can see about John Sunhol's case in minute detail. Here's a link I'm going to put on the family chat for members. That is the research and government letterhead as censored by a court order to Google to take down, to stop people hearing this. And I want to, John, the victim, John Sunhol's done nothing. I use my Google account to publish on his a shared Google blog we have, okay? I use my Google account. My information went to a web server in America run by Google. Google and I are the publishers. This tribunal is still prosecuting an innocent man for my criticism of the OTO that you can see on this link. Okay? Now, yeah.
If he comes on, if he comes on, is this detrimental to Mr. Suna?
Well, here's the thing. It has to be done. Jack from Masterpiece Cakes in America is going to your Supreme Court very soon. The homosexual victimization laws that say once a gay or Satanist has sued you, you must be gagged and not complain, or you will be found guilty of victimization even if you're innocent of said offense. Every you must love a homo or you must love a satanic cult lawsuit comes with an automatic gag order called homosexual victimization. In America, there's only one region that has the same laws as Australia. Obama is on that C-SPAN saying, my dear friend Terry Bean. Terry Bean is called a queer hero by Basic Rights Oregon. And Basic Rights Oregon paid the funding for the gay judge, Brad Averican, who ruled against Jack for Masterpiece Cakes when two fat lesbians saw the only bakery in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, with Bible verses on their website before the lawsuit, with lesbian lambada legal on the speed dial to get some quick Christian must pay the gay cash. Because he talked about it on Christian radio, that's where the $300,000 fine, most of the $300,000 fine comes from. Now, Terry Bean flies on Air Force One with Obama with his 26-year-old boyfriend, Carl Lawson. The Wilmette Week newspaper has the witness statements from the young boy that they had sex with. So Obama has child rapists flying on Air Force One. I put this in my lunch hour on my old blog, Victims of Gay Bullying, which no longer exists, and John Sunhol linked to it. There's a picture of Terry Bean and Obama outside Air Force One in the Australian case law, but they won't name him because Terry Bean, according to gay sources, is instrumental in establishing the Oregon Equality Act, which gay judge Brad Averican, whatever, used against Jack from Masterpiece Cakes in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. You understand? This queer hero, Terry Bean, who Obama calls my dear friend on video, on camera, the Australian gay judges have ruled it's a crime to say Obama is friends with gay pedophiles. And they held the case running until Terry Bean was let off. How did Terry Bean try and get off the charges? Well, first, he tried to reinstate slavery. He said, a child's bottom is a piece of property. And by having sex with said bottom, I have done property damage. So I want to do civil property damage settlement for a child rape case. The mother has agreed. I will pay her $260,000 and do an AIDS test. And the judge said, hell no. So the boy was disappeared and the mother was disappeared. And the prosecutor said, we've got no witnesses, just like a gangster movie. And the head of the gay mafia basically got away with child rape, even though the local KONI TV affiliate in Oregon is interviewing the neighbors, talking about streams of young boys going into a co-founder of the Human Rights Campaign, which Hillary Clinton loves making guest speeches at. Unbelievable. You see the links to the Democrats and the pedophilia normalization. Terry Bean was the main fund bundler for Obama in Oregon. It's a hardcore Democrat state. They're the people that riot and burnt down buildings when Trump got elected. I'm not going to support Trump. I'm not going to support any US president because I've heard stuff about Trump. I won't repeat. I just won't repeat. It just relates to Epstein and the Lolita Express and an OTO temple in St. Kitts. That's all I'm saying. You can go research it further. It's, as I said, it's unverified, but it's disturbing. So definitely the lesser of two evils there. I will say that unequivocally. So
as far as the federal government goes, I don't trust my federal government whatsoever. I do have a question for you, though.
Yep.
They probably watch everything you do, everything you say, and I know they're watching tonight. Or somebody in that group is watching you tonight. What would you say to them right now? Right now, because I've got a feeling that they keep track on you pretty fiercely.
We keep track on you. We know that your religion mandates children participate in group sex acts. You are no religion at all, and Americans need to look up your own IRS tax code and find the section where it says Children of God or other child sex cults, religions that mandate crimes against the ordinary laws are no religion at all. We're coming for you. We're coming for your money. We're coming for your power base. And we're coming for all those people in government you corrupted and in media through the abuse of children. These people, their teachings evolved from the teachings of the Sabbatean Frankists. I have caught David Bottrell doing censorship of people who don't even speak about the OTO, but speak about Zionism. I've actually got the emails from David Bottrell demanding anti-Zionist content be removed. I know I'm upsetting a lot of Christians here because, you know, the Family Research Council is giving free trips to Israel this month. Palestinians have applied too, and that's all I'll say. I won't go off topic too much, but these people don't follow the teachings of ordinary Jewish people. They follow the teachings of the Frankists. They decided that the Messiah who hasn't come yet, and I'm being sarcastic, who isn't Jesus, that's what they believe. They believe the Messiah is yet to come, hasn't come yet, and they believe the Jewish teachings are that the Messiah will come is when everyone is really, really good and everyone is holy and worthy, or when everyone is really, really, really bad and corrupted. So in a nutshell, the Sabbatean Frankists and the Jacobins and what have you, the secret societies, they believe that they can achieve salvation for mankind by thoroughly corrupting it. That's their base belief. Remember, the highest level in the OTO is Master of the Hermit Triad XI in gay anal sex black magic. Watch the documentary made by the pro-gay Channel 4 UK TV channel called Aleister Crowley, Wickedest Man in the World. It covers a whole bunch of gay sycophants cheering him on, talking about the time he went into the desert and through sodomy discovered that you can only achieve magical enlightenment through gay sex. It is the religion of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what the OTO is. That's their highest level. They believe in sex magic. and they've also called themselves Blue Lodge Masons. We know. Now, I had someone on online forums say your previous guest, William Solomon, was a shield and a liar and everything. Guess what I found out? Investigating all the OTO members in America, I won't say which state, you can probably guess, I found out that they're all Masons. There was a clear link between OTO and Masonry. I started out from a viewpoint of my so-called, my ex-friends now, saying that your guests are liars. I've come around to the truth. That's why I'm here now. The OTO is a pedophile cult, and by law in America, in California, your other guest, William Ramsey, a cult researcher who I wish was here today, he exposed that the founder of the US gay rights movement, Harry Hay, was an OTO member. You can see photographs of him wearing a t-shirt that says, "NAMBLA walks with me." Breitbart has done a video on him and Kevin Jennings, Harry Hay and Kevin Jennings, Breitbart, look for it, where it shows him going into NAMBLA meetings. But by law in California, children must hail to OTO NAMBLA. SB 48 bill, Gay History Month bill. Children will be sent to LGBThistorymonth.com, previously GLBT History Month, until lesbians, put the L first, to study Harry Hay. Because who else is the founder of the US gay rights movement? The law says you must study the founder of the gay rights movement, Indians, and blah, 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 a list. The law forces the Californian schools to praise a NAMBLA OTO icon. It's not a secret that these pedophile organizations have co-opted your government and my government. Every child that goes to a government school is given homework on a NAMBLA member. And in Australia, it's same. Oxford University Press teaches in the textbook Sport and the Law, Commerce and the Law, Chapter 10, Sport and the Law. They have to study a guy called Ken Campnolio. He walked into a football club and volunteered as a child masseuse. He said, "I'm a gay man. You can't stop me seeing your child's penis in the open showers at a football club change room, and I must keep my job as a child masseuse." The judge in a subsequent case the children are forced to study says, "Miss Anna Day, VCAT tribunal member." Now, these tribunals can send you to jail, right, as we've seen with Lake and Devine, but when they are challenged and said, the Australian Constitution says no court shall impede political free speech, they say, we can send you to jail, but we're not a court. We're a tribunal. The law doesn't apply to us. Case law, but Gary Burns versus John Laws, a talk show host. Gary Burns sued the former premier, as in governor, you would say in American English, of Victoria, Jeff Kennett, for saying that Ken Campnolio shouldn't work at the Benalla Bonnie Doon Football Club as a gay man who demands his right to see children naked in the change room. But children are forced to study this case in school textbooks from the great Oxford University Press. I mean, now we've got safe schools where they tell the children, vaginal sex isn't the best sex. They say sodomy is better in the textbook. Imagine that.
Where are believers at?
Well, they're being persecuted. I'll give you an example. Wendy Joy Francis was the woman from the Australian Christian Lobby in Queensland who was exposing the 3-year-old gay marriage activist penis chopping done by Westmead Children's Hospital. And also before that, she said, we don't like gay men kissing each other with condoms on bus stops. It's not for the little kids to see. And she was ridiculed. Then a website, and I come into the story at the end, don't you worry. Then a website called mamamia.com.au or some activism website. I'll find the link now. Okay, here we go. mamamia.com.au. Do you find this offensive? I've just found a link from my autocomplete. I'm now putting it in the chat for the guests. Here we go. These gay men that had their photos put on children's bus stops, which Wendy Joy Francis, Australian Christian Lobby critique, they all go, ha, ha, ha. These men have got their own kids now. You can't complain. What can go wrong? It gets better. It gets better. Their old Twitter ID was Rip and Roll Guys, which was the Rip and Roll a condom. It's now Michael James _TV or Two Dads and Me on Twitter. Their partner was arrested. The child, which they're talking about on that Mamma Mia article, testified in court, my two daddies treated me like my personal prostitute. Daily Mail talks about it, but the judge trusted the other gay man that believed the 15-year-old boy had just had a crush on his gay daddy, and he made it all up. But I found out with my investigation that Michael James, partner of Anthony Gillespie, it gets even better. Life Without Barriers, lwb.org.au, that gets $20 million from the federal government, has videos on their YouTube channel saying, we prefer to give babies to gay foster care parents. There's articles in the newspaper. If you see the description for my YouTube description for my Jim Fetzer interview with the big ACLU, rainbow flag, pedophiles and child victims all on the logo for that, you can see the mainstream newspaper sources. On my Scribed account, Life Without Barriers got $50,000 from the former Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, to run the Australian National Best Carer Awards, where anyone can win an award for caring for old people or being the Good Samaritan from the Bible, basically. Guess who won the Best Foster Carer in Queensland award? A man who uses his fake name in public life, all pedophiles, like all pedophiles do, Donald Anthony Gillespie, who uses his middle name and last name, just like the gay judge in my dad's case, who's the only judge who doesn't use his real name in court, which is Alexander, is his Bible, the name his mother gave him. John Wakefield is the name he appears in case law. Right. He wins Best Foster Care Award winner in Queensland, and he was previously on 4ZZZ radio with Andrew Bartlett, Senator for the Australian Greens Party, telling gay men how to get babies through Life Without Barriers. It gets better. LukesArmy.com has been framed up and put in jail, another anti-pedophile activist who was also sued by the OTO, though the case law isn't public, exposes that Life Without Barriers is advertising in porn magazines, lesbians on the loose, for gay parents. They only advertise in gay magazines. And at the end of my Jim Fetzer video, we play a clip of them marching in gay pride saying, we only give babies to gays, nothing can go wrong. But their kids are already being raped. Now, when I confronted with this and say, will you do the honorable thing and say sorry, I got an arrest warrant for harassing them. Because you must not be against people spending taxpayers' money to say the best dad is a gay dad who rapes their children. In America, you've got an Englishman, Gay Dads on Twitter, who ran a TV show with the byline calling himself the Gay Mafia on the poster for his TV show called theparentmakers.com. On episode 3 on his YouTube channel, he says the best he gets his 5-year-old son, who has a 15-year-old twin brother, because he's a test tube baby, lived the first 10 years of his life in liquid nitrogen, just after cell division. A twin. Imagine having an identical twin 10 years older. Well, these men are both ex-straight. They have a business in America that treat, in all the Democrat states, poor American women said you can breed for gays. On BritishSurrogacyCentre.com, heterosexual surrogacy page, they say if you have AIDS, We can pay a woman in the third world to take your AIDS semen and make you a gay AIDS baby. This is their own website, not mine.
Mm.
In his episode 3, he gets his test tube baby, the product, to be the product that sells itself. He gets his test tube baby to say the best dad is a gay dad. If you don't do, sodomites are better dads than straight people. It is a war. It is sick, and we can go watch the footage. It's online on the Parent Makers official YouTube channel. That is how sick these people are. And then he goes on Australian TV promoting his baby selling business when it's illegal in the country on Channel 7 News, and he paid money to get a TV spot on the main morning breakfast show that's not even meant to have commercial product offerings. So, and the marketing company bragged about it. And he's literally running a documentary about how he pimps that American woman to breed for the European rich gay elite. And there's a story on theothermccain.com covering him. It's gay baby merchant boasts, my vast wealth will crush anyone. And in England, his whole business is illegal. There's basically, these things can't be going on. And it gets even better. You've heard about Soylent Green, haven't you?
Mm.
He works for RX Genesis, spelled SYS, not SIS. His partner, Tony Barlow, it's Barry Jewett Barlow and Tony Barlow. He is certifying in America under a fake name, Barry Druitt, that he doesn't have on his passport, according to my Freedom of Information requests to English authorities. They've previously been shut down and sued by the MHRA in England for medical testing. I'm speculating here. Everything I've said is case law and fact until now. But from what I've seen, I believe, this is speculation, there's a partnership between Cryocell.com that betrayed my trust and forwarded my emails to these sons of, okay, sorry. Cryocell, RX Genesis. The same people, under a fake name, he certified these cosmetics made from human stem cells from baby placentas. So he's got a business harvesting babies in the third world for gays, a demographic that's 30 or 40 times more likely to rape children. He's getting all these placentas from all these third world surrogates, okay? He's partnered with a company called Cryocell for shipping said placentas. And his partner is certifying American stem cell cosmetics made from the gay baby flesh trade. So women are rubbing the product of gays exploiting the third world. Now, the main Christian blogger in Australia, Bill Murenberg, did a blog post about the Greens Party, which I've mentioned a few times already, trying to legalize gays procuring children through the third world, like the head of the Human Rights Commission did when he bought a baby from a convicted human trafficker. The same government department that says 1 in 5 of Australian men are sodomites. TimWilson.com.au is his Twitter account, mind you. Ask him, you can still see the photographs, you can see the Christmas photographs he puts out of his Thai babies he bought. And under the Hague Convention, these children are not allowed to leave Thailand without an order from the Thai court. There was never any commercial surrogacy laws in Thailand. That the mother had joint custody by default. The Australian government was just giving passports and allowing them to take the babies. Then when the Thai government cracked down on it and stopped it, Julie Bishop, the Australian foreign minister, flies into Thailand and says, don't obey international law, don't obey all the state law on all the East Coast except for Victoria that makes it legal for these gay men to buy babies, and don't obey your own law. The gay men must take delivery. And the Australian government was giving them passports. They were paying the Thai surrogates to go to the airport with them to trick immigration. There's a mass child kidnapping operation, and it goes to the top. And if you dissent against Australian government human trafficking, such as the Mark Newton and Peter Trong case, you'll be found guilty of the crime of hating human trafficking, like my dad was and John Sunhol was. And here is John Sunhol on audio. So I will butt out now, and you can talk to the guy who's actually going into court with the OTO and has been sued 90 times by my gay stalker since 2009, Gary Burns, who then sued my dad for disrespecting convicted pedophiles.
Before we get on with Mr. Sunil, I want to remind everyone, as you're watching this program tonight, keep lifting yourself up in prayer for wisdom, or temperament, and clear thinking. This is a war going on, a war over what is of Yahweh and what is of not, and this is gut wrenching. I'm almost sick. You know, it's one of those. It's a topic that it's out there because I live in the States and I live in a very conservative region, and I keep a tight rein on my family and protection, but this is actually happening. And I've been checking the websites that this is actual stuff you can look up, and it is fact. There's court cases going on right now that he's been talking about tonight. But right now, before we get in to Mr. Sunil, I want you to pray for wisdom, for clear thinking, that you lift yourself up to the Father so that we are in a spiritual war, not only a spiritual war, but a physical war. And we have to be clear thinker. I got angry earlier and I said, don't bring it to my house, yada, yada. It causes this kind of anger. And there's been a lot of chat in the chat room about righteous anger. Yes, be righteously angry. Like our guest who's been fighting this. And the guest, well, he just disappeared. But just lift yourself up in prayer. Put yourself before the Father as you're listening to this so that your anger remains righteous and that we don't sin in it. So I guess he just jumped back.
John, but before you just jump back off, why don't we go into some questions real quick? And if he returns, then good. If not, we'll go get through some questions that we have up here.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, go. Let's do that.
There's a question up here that says, is there any connection with ANFTA or MANBA, MANBA?
Do you mean NAMBLA?
Yeah.
North American Boy Love Association. Well, the previous guest on your show, William Ramsey, has exposed the founder of the US gay rights movement, along with Breitbart, is NAMBLA, and Obama's Safe School czar, Kevin Jennings, was involved in Fistgate. I won't even explain to your listeners what Fistgate is, but Mass Resistance, a Christian activism website, has a story on Fistgate, and Breitbart has a story on Fistgate 2. Basically, America's safe schools, child sex education czar brought upon himself to give children sex toys to use with acts of oh my God, you can't explain how graphic the sex act is, but it is clearly, he clearly is a pedophile activity that Obama's Safe Schools has, and the gays are marching in Australia saying you can't oppose safe schools, and they're telling little girls, like Wendy Joy Francis, when she was interviewed on a Christian show, I just remember the name of it. She's done an interview on the same channel Bruno went on. It'll come back to me. I'll find the video, but Wendy Joy Francis did an interview, and she said like this: the lesbian feminist teachers following the Safe School curriculum will ask your little daughter, hey, little girl, do you like playing on the playground with little boys or little girls? Little girl, of course, say, well, I'm a little girl, I play with other little girls. Then the teacher will go, oh, that means you're a lesbian. You have to discover your inner lesbian. You have to have sex with other girls. That's what they're actually doing in safe schools. It is grooming pedophile activity, mandated, forced on children, all children, mandated in Victoria by the Rainbow Labor government. Yes, they have a Rainbow Labor government, gay, and the first person to try and force gay marriage into Canberra was the Rainbow Labor gay scoutmaster Simon Corbell. He introduced the religious vilification laws that the OTO's using in their first landmark case in the Australian Capital Territory against someone who isn't in the Australian Capital Territory, outside their jurisdiction. And he named Johnson Hall as a target when he introduced the legislation.
We'll get to the next question. I just want to say this. I am a firm believer in following the Father's ways in this world. I am a firm believer in following his Torah through and by Yeshua Messiah. This is appalling information that you're hearing right now, and that if you're watching this program, please continue to pray. Pray to the Father for wisdom, for guidance on what to do if you feel led to contact we need to fight this fight. How can they, first of all, how can they find you again? I know you put it in the chat room, but for those who are watching on YouTube right now, they're unable to get the link. Can you give them a link?
Okay, it's YouTube. Okay, on the chat room to my YouTube channel, but I'm scared to publish. See, my channel has been used in case law. Okay, and people have been accused of the crime of linking to my channel. So if I upload new content and my channel gets taken down, so are the chances for these victims or these people accused of the crime of linking to my channel to defend themselves in court. Because once they take down the content, they make up stories about what was there and what wasn't there. For example, my dad's case, they took down the causes petition that he signed. It wasn't until after the case we found the archive.org link, which said the video about gay marriage activists saying it's homophobic to oppose us having sex with getting little kids. Just like you saw. Now, I mean, I got an arrest warrant the other day to another case. An FBI Australian citizen in America, in Albany, New York, Dr. Matthew Hind, or SlurpT1 on Twitter. If you tweet to him, he won't reply because he's in a federal prison in America right now. But you see on there, this pedophile made Slurp marriage equality tea. Slurp. Don't even get me. It's probably a sexual reference in there. I don't know. And he decided to get protection from, see, the FBI takes his laptop full of child porn. The very next day, he's on a plane to Casablanca, then on to Australia, to become a FBI infant anal sex child porn fugitive gay marriage activist. Okay? He's hugging, if you go to Bernard Gaynor, I'll type the link, bernardgaynor.com.au/happy. You can see said pedophile hugging the mayor of Brisbane. Okay? And here's the other McCain's link I'm putting on the chat now, written by a former Washington Times reporter. All my research published by a newspaper reporter. Australian gay marriage crusader was fugitive wanted on kiddie porn charge. I am wanted for arrest because I am a hate criminal. My crime was to get between the gay lobby's infant sex crusader raised cash to support gay marriage. I called them up and said, look, can you tell me about the Slurp marriage equality tea funding you got from the Slurp tea business, where every drop of gay marriage, Slurp marriage equality tea sold by an infant sex fugitive supports gay marriage. Here is your chance to distance yourself from pedophiles who support gay marriage. Would you be willing to follow the suggestion of the trial judge in Albany, New York, who sentenced him to 3 years jail and to pay $1,500 to a child sexual abuse prevention charity? Will you, he wouldn't have, if he didn't flee justice in America, you wouldn't have got all this infant sex fugitive raised cash. So would you be willing to distance yourself from the fact pedophiles support gay marriage and let's say donate this money to a child sexual abuse prevention charity in Australia? I only called 3 times, once to the receptionist, once to the head honcho, who said, I'm going to get you for extortion. We're the gay lobby. Don't get between our baby sex raised cash for gay marriage. I'm now wanted for arrest in Queensland too. I'm going to freedom of information, the whole thing. And I only found out because I was giving intel to the anti-pedophile squad on a bunch of homosexuals and said, "Oh, by the way, you're wanted for arrest." I'm going, "What?" I thought he was bluffing on the phone. So the special gay police officer changed the charge from extortion, which the guy threatened me on the phone with, to harassing him. Because if you ask the gay lobby to give back pedophile-raised gay marriage cash to distance themselves from their pedophile support base, you will be prosecuted. So you're not allowed to expose top gay marriage activists to having sex with children, or the special gay police will throw you in jail. Just one phone call asking them to support a child sexual abuse charity with their money. I mean, I thought they wouldn't want to hold on to the baby sex raised gay marriage cash, but no.
Luke,
it makes me angry.
You're a warrior.
It makes me angry.
You are a warrior.
Can you see how
Ecclesiastes? That's very sick. Ecclesiastes says there's a time for war. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a time for peace, time for love, all that stuff. He raises up people like yourself, and I am in awe of what you've been fighting, sir. I've been looking at all the websites as you've been talking. This can be fact verified. This is actually going on. It is their own government websites admitting this stuff openly. What can we do? There's a couple of questions I want to get to. What can we do, Luke, to help you in this fight? We got our own fight down here. We got Disney promoting homosexuality now. Disney.
They've been doing subliminal messages for decades.
Oh yeah. Don't get me and John Pounder started on that.
Look, charity.
You are a warrior, sir.
Here's the thing. I have never asked for a cent. I am actually, my country is too far gone to be saved, I think. I believe charity begins at the home. Support massresistance.org in England, Australia, America, your local chapter that goes against gays and indoctrinating children in schools primarily. All the mainstream media lies to you, okay? Don't ask, don't tell. We're Catholic priests that link to Gary Burns, mind you, I found out. We're chaining themselves to the White House gates over. What was that over? What was the gay lobby campaigning for with don't ask, don't tell? Okay, I'm just going to read what they got repealed. Section 925, Chapter 10, U.S. Military Code of Justice. Don't ask, don't tell was about one thing only: normalizing bestiality. Here we go. Section 925, Article 125, sodomy. Punitive Articles 10. A person subject to this chapter who engages in unnatural carnal copulation with another person of the same or opposite sex or with an animal is guilty of sodomy. Penetration, however slight, is sufficient to complete the offense. Blah, 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 must be court-martialed. That's what got repealed. They didn't want to remove, the opposite sex or same sex and leave the word animal in there. No. They wanted to make sex with animals legal. And mass resistance is exposing the gay lobby is putting forward yet more bills to make sex with animals legal. Now, here's the thing about me. You've seen how I'm just rattling off facts and figures. I was made slightly different. Some people say Asperger's. I'm one of the people who's so highly functional that I can pick up on social clues. It's very, very minor. I think it accelerates my academic and research abilities. Now, someone like me is naturally skeptic of a higher power, and how I became to know that God is real. Now, I must admit, technically I'm agnostic because I haven't read the Bible as much as I should have. I do need to get closer to God. I do need to do my homework. That is the truth. But I should be dead. I shouldn't be on this earth right now. My number was up, and I've only ever heard a voice in my head once in my life. Only once. So it's not schizophrenia. I was living in America in 1120 Street, Bakersfield, 93304, with my Christian wife, going to church. and I was investigating something suspect with this church I won't name, and a police officer was sent after me, and I was charged with what the lawyers in California could call contempt of cop. Crime of disobeying a police officer's request when they didn't have the grounds to arrest you in the first place. Section 148A1 of the Californian Penal Code. Delay or resist arrest and no other offence. I am the only person that I have managed to find who has beat their criminal... You type my name into the American Kern County Criminal Court website. MCKEE is my surname. My first name is Luke. You'll see the charge and nothing else right there, and it will say, dismissed in the furtherance of justice. Why would, for the first time in history, the American Kern County prosecutor drop their case against me without appearing in courtroom in person, contrary to all legal advice? The arresting officer was a gay man paid to hunt down young boys all day. His name was Christopher Kent, as in Clark Kent, Christopher Kent Bowersox. FBI has press releases about him doing child porn. I was investigating a foster care operation in Bakersfield, which was related, it was my wife's childhood caregivers, because her mother was, anyway, never mind. I think I was onto something with this group. This man attempted to murder me twice. The first time, it was my intellect that saved me. If I didn't fall out to be a bouncer, as I said earlier, when a police officer said, put your hands below the dash, my mind continued, where you can't see them, where you can legally shoot me dead and claim I was going for a firearm. My mind kicked in. I will leave my hands up in front of my face, sir. I will obey any lawful request you give me, but I will not put my hands down from where you can see them, sir. That saved my life. Bowersox, when I researched him, this will shock you. There's two videos on my channel. One is the Bakersfield Police Chief Williamson saying he's a professional officer because he's only trying to have sex with little boys off duty. Watch the footage. American Bakersfield, ABC, turn-to23.com, mainstream news here on Bowersox. Okay, there's a video of the mainstream news, and then there's video of me investigating him after I found out. So I never saw my firstborn child in America because of the actions of a gay man paid to hunt down young boys. He was caught up in an FBI sting, but was allowed to delete almost all the evidence he had, but they found one little memory card he forgot to erase where he produced child porn. This cop ran me out of the country, and I tried to fight it and stay, and in the end, the Australian embassy said, look, just get out of Australia, we'll help you leave the country through the airport. And I was like, I wanted to stay and fight, but then I find out 10 years later, the Australian government told my wife to leave me. That's why. So when I went to LA to try and get legal assistance, I didn't know that the Australian government was meddling with my marriage behind the scenes. And this is why I've never seen my firstborn child, because of this gay child raping pedophile cop who then the judge ruled, the only good thing about the case is the judge ruled that gay porn encourages gay pedophiles to rape more kids, and he watched more adult porn, and he was sent to jail again as a parole violator. But according to the government printing office, he got his guns back after being a convicted pedophile, gpo.gov in America, okay? You can look up the case law again. Now, the first time he tried to kill me was like me sitting in my own car, and I was arrested. The charge was first, arresting, stealing my own car. That didn't work. So then they moved to delay or resist own murder. I went to Internal Affairs. They talked crap about my wife and didn't give me an audio tape of the proceedings and threatened me. Then this is the honest truth. On the day that I left Bakersfield for the last time, let me see if I can show you in the camera. I got this feeling of all my hair standing up on my body, and I can't explain it, but it's like some force, you could say guardian angel, made me for the first time just feel like the walls were moving in. I went to the landlord's house and talked myself in there, and then I watched Bowersox enter the apartment through the window carrying a non-police issued firearm. And after he'd left the scene, then people from the same church, which I won't name because I have only rumours, I have think some came into the landlord's place looking for me while I hid in the pantry. And then once the coast was clear, I ran in, grabbed a duffel bag in about 1 minute, was taken, then was put in the boot of the landlord's car and taken to the bus stop out of town, out of Dodge. That was in 2005. I was in America. If I don't know what made me, maybe it's post-traumatic stress disorder from that one incident. My recollection is how I told you. If I had stayed put, like I did most days at home, doing my work, I wouldn't be here right now. Now, Bowersox was going on documenting reality.com, wanking off to Russian soldiers having their head cut off by Chechen rebels. I got his username from the news, CKB Socks. He testified, he only got 2 years jail because he testified in court, "Dear Judge," this is in Fresno Supreme Court, "Dear Judge, and he's a gay man because he's on cellpals.com talking about his Latino partner. Sorry, not Latino partner, his partner, Michael Real, his Filipino partner, Michael Real. Now he's talking about on cellpals.com, he's talking about having a gay partner when he's in jail facing charges, dating for prison inmates. So he's a gay, he's a cop, and he put on bakersfieldgraffiti.com when it was online, if your child likes art and has spray cans under the bed, give him unto me, your local gay pedophile cop, without the suffix I added. So this sicko had a job hunting down young boys all day, and that's who run me out of America. Now, that's government case law, Kern County criminal website. I'll put all the court documents online. You can see on my scribe page, the yellow document in the handwriting of Christopher Kent Bowersox, the charge sheet from Bakersfield. I come back to Australia, and then my only other arrest is by another mainstream media confirmed criminal gay police officer, Tui Ormsby, UK Mirror. She represents Australia in rugby union, and she's in the paper for doing same-sex domestic violence, almost occasioning in death, before becoming a police officer. Now, you go on my YouTube channel, you can see the 2 videos about Bowersox. You can actually see the mainstream news about her. You can look up the articles, research it. I want everyone to be a skeptic and not believe a single word I'm saying today until you verify it yourself, because then it's more powerful. It resonates with you once you verified it. Never take anything at face value, always research this. But here's the thing. The message that John Sunol and I have is the government is normalizing pedophilia by criminalizing dissent against it. Both gay pedophiles and satanic cult pedophiles whose religious doctrine mandate children participate in the Gnostic Catholic Mass ritual. We have the photograph of the children and the naked priestess. We have their written doctrine. We have the training videos where they say, we drink human blood. But OTO drink human blood and they call it cakes of light, which is also known as spirit cooking. Hillary Clinton's linked to spirit cooking with Abramovich. Abramovich, in her art, is using the logo of the OTO, the elongated star they use. It's called the unicursal hexagram, according to Wikipedia. You see, you've got the same left-wing politics controlled by these satanic pedophile cults in your country as well. And I think it's my belief, and the belief of many others on YouTube, that the OTO's job is to provide the political class with children for sexual abuse as a means of blackmail and control. Only through blackmail can you have the level of centralized control that governments are not normally known for. And the people who print the money are probably behind that. But that's my speculation. That's why this is going on. That's why they exist.
I don't know. John Pounders, are you there, buddy? Are you there, bro?
I am here, man. And
I know you're holding your stomach.
Well, I'm here at the house doing the show, and so I've got things going on in the background. My children are not wanting to go to bed tonight at early hour. Too many sweets for their dinner and stuff like that. So they're running around the house like crazy. But this is a topic, you guys, that know all too well, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people think this doesn't happen in the United States, but it's already happening here. It's been happening. We did a documentary lining out stuff that's happened just in our own home state. And this continues to happen all around. Yeah, it happens all around the United States. There's no doubt about it. And it happens all over the world. Anywhere where we have a government, you know, really, I mean, this world's getting worse and worse. People don't realize it. And, you know, there's a few countries that may have a little bit stronger stance on it. But the United States, if you guys don't know, I mean, they've been taken over by pedophiles a long time ago. The media company's been taken over by pedophiles a long time ago. Before I did Now You See TV, and I realized I got this thumbnail up. Let me try to put the video back on here. Before I started doing Now You See TV, I actually worked with a guy shooting documentaries. Shooting a documentary here. What's that? Okay, sorry. I thought somebody was saying.
So that was my. I accidentally changed Windows, and the older part of the web stream kicked in. It was an accident.
No problem. I was going to say, before I started doing Now You See TV, right after I became a believer, pretty much, maybe a couple, you know, within the 2 years, the time frame's kind of foggy, but I shot a documentary, helped the guy shoot a documentary that never got aired because people ended up dead over this, like Nancy Schaefer, the Senator Nancy Schaefer, who ended up dead after filming pedophiles and children in cages and horrifying stuff in Texas, and she was going to go public with it. Her and her husband were involved in a murder-suicide, and I use quotations because I do not believe for a second that's what happened, because she was getting ready to come out with this information. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar organization that kidnaps children, puts them in pedophiles' homes, and has been doing it for a long time. This was in LA County that we found out this stuff was happening. There was a judge there that was also on the board of Child Protection Services, and every child that they took away, he got a kickback from this GPS. So there was a conflict of interest there. The attorney that we had in the documentary went up against this organization in LA, ended up in prison falsely for a year without any solution, without any rhyme or reason. Became a prisoner in one of the worst, you know, jail in one of the worst jails in LA County. But this goes on a national scale. I know it makes us mad that it's going on in Australia, but it's going on here too. And people don't realize it's going on. And I hate doing shows like this because it's disturbing and sickening to see this stuff. But the reality of the matter is, like I said, I haven't had time to research anything that our guest has on, but I have done the research here in the United States, and I don't like to bring this stuff up. Trust me, it makes you sick at your stomach. It makes you angry, makes you paranoid, all these different things, because you know that these things are all around you. But the fact of the matter is happening, and unless we address that it's happening and realize that it's happening, nothing can really be done about it until people can see it straight up. But you know, it's interesting because they are doing it in front of our faces, and we can see it if we actually look up and realize what's going on and quit taking the mainstream media's word for it and expecting them to be our guide for truth. Because as you know, the way I grew up, I learned not to trust anybody ever. I never trusted anybody. I still don't trust any people very often. Okay. There's very few times that I'll put my trust in any person whatsoever. But you want to talk about being naive, and naive and blind is a person that will put their trust in a media that's ran by the richest people in the world, because we know that the love of money is the root of all that's evil. And when you talk about a root is the thing that sucks up everything to grow the tree. This is the main piece behind it. And we have these people that are in these organizations and these high level multi-billionaires, and you don't become a multi-billionaire that easy. Okay. So we're talking about, these are the people that run our media. These are the people that run our government. These are the people that run that. And if you're naive enough to trust these people, then I think that you need a lesson from the real world out there. And you need to understand what's actually going on in the world, because I promise you, this world is not what you think it is. I've seen a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors, behind underground stuff that happens in the city, in a small city like the city I live in. So imagine this on a national level with some of the most powerful people in the world. And that is what I was going to say. We have about 10 minutes left. And John, did you have anything else to say? Or?
I want to get John.
I want to add to that. As soon as John, we are responsible for our families, our children, our wives. And we need to walk this out as the Father commands us to. And these spiritual forces that we're fighting against, we have an obligation to speak out, speak up, and fight against. That is the Father's ways. And yes, it looks dim. It looks like the dark forces are winning, but trust me when I say this, the Father will fight for you as long as you keep him first and foremost in your life. Do that. And I want to thank John again. And it seems like I've thanked you every time I've come on this week, John, for allowing this type of discussion to go on to educate, our brothers and sisters out there who maybe never heard of this and can verify it with the websites, with the every fact that you put up. I have looked up, Luke, and it's out there. And it's government websites that are absolutely not denying this stuff.
Yeah, you must respect the people sent to jail without trial. Here's the thing. The government, the judge says in case law they're present, but the OTO says they're not in their December 2007 press release. And the Age, Fairfax, biggest newspaper in Victoria, couple jailed for contempt in vilification case, written by Barney Swartz, who is now the media guy for the Anglican Archdiocese. I'm not going to plug the Anglican Church, guys. No good. They're too close to the gay lobby. But the mainstream news says they weren't in the courtroom and they were sent to jail for not showing up in the proceedings, contrary to the human rights law. So the judge is going against the mainstream news in her case law and against the applicant in the case, the OTO pedophile cult. Who's the liar? The deputy head of this VCAT tribunal, and both in New South Wales, all these CAT, ACAT, VCAT, NCAT, QCAT, all these tribunals, civil and administrative appeals tribunals, they're also given the job of managing these children's safety checks. If you go through the case law, www.caselaw.nsw.gov.au is another website you can also use instead of OSLI, and they're putting pictures in case law now. Pictures of my mother in case law. Pictures in cases that don't even have my name on it, just to mess with me. Just search for John Sunol Burns. You will see Sunol, S-U-N-O-L versus Burns. There is literally 30 or 40 cases of him being persecuted by one gay activist. Lawsuit upon lawsuit upon lawsuit upon lawsuit. Columbia University Freedom of Expression Project is even talking about John's plight in America. And we've got him now on mute. I want to shut up, and you've got to talk to the guy who's going Christian, a disabled Christian man who's going face to face with these satanic pedophiles in court. So he's here today risking the court suppression order, the victimization law, not to talk about says you must, if you're being sued by the OTO pedophile cult, you're instantly gagged by default. I mean, these laws are these victimization clauses are being tested right now in the US Supreme Court. The gay lobby in America plagiarized these laws verbatim in your country from Australia. And it's ironic that Terry Bean, John Sunol, was found guilty of disrespecting Terry Bean because he linked to my blog talking about Terry Bean being arrested for child sex as queer hero, and how the gay lobby calls him a queer hero, and how Obama says he's my best mate. I mean, and when you read the actual victim statement on the Wilmette Week newspaper, let me find it, WW Week, Terry Bean knew his victim was under 16. There we go. You can actually read the victim, who since disappeared, so Terry Bean could get off the child sex charges, talking about Obama's friend abusing children. I'll just put the link on chat now. John Sunol in case law. There's a picture of Terry Bean in case law saying it is a crime. Just search for Sunol Obama in case law. You'll find the case on the www.caselaw.nsw.gov.au website. The judge says Obama is not friends with gay pedophiles. He's not on C-SPAN saying, Terry Bean, my dear friend. Terry Bean wasn't arrested for child sex. You can't even report on the mainstream news. And Bernard Gaynor is going to the High Court for the crime of covering the Toronto Gay Pride Parade as a Christian activist. His crime was criticizing a gay man with one hand on an erect penis and the other hand on a Sony Handycam with it next to his thigh, a naked man standing on the street putting his penis and his Sony Handycam right next to a little boy's face on the street. The judge said you can't be against gay men putting their penis in little boys' faces on the street, and BernardGaynor.com.au has had to spend millions of dollars in legal fees going to the High Court of Australia to say, I can be against gay men putting penises in front of little boys' faces. And he even talked on ABC government radio and said, that's why I'm going to the High Court. And I'll give you the link to Bernard Gaynor, on ABC radio. Now, on the same day, that here's the ABC talking about John Sunol being a hate criminal just for linking to my YouTube channel and nothing else. He was called a gay basher. A gay basher. Here we go. Here's a link. Here's a link to John Sunol being called a gay basher, because if you criticize those who hate infants, you're gay bashing. Don't hate sex with infants, or you're gay bashing. This is a normalization of pedophilia. This is the video he linked to. And if you put ABC plugs pedos as one word into www.caselaw.nsw.
One second. If you're on YouTube right now watching this, if you go to NiuCTV.org, you can get on the chat, the private followers chat, and find these links there. And I would highly suggest that you guys come over. You can join the chat group over there, join the discussion, and find these links that he's talking about, or rewind this and listen to the links and look this stuff up for yourself. Because as he's putting this out, I'm looking, and this is actual stuff you can find. This is not conspiracy theory. This is not out there. This is absolutely happening. It is happening.
Let me get another link I want to put on the description for the video. It's so powerful. Here is proof that the gay judge admits on his own law firm blog, he specializes in representing pedophiles. As he says in case law, it's a crime to disrespect those who have sex with babies. In my dad's case, in John's case, and my father's case, and on appeal, there is no act. It's not a one-off court case. Multiple people accused of the same crime of vilifying Mark Newton and Peter Trong, baby rapists, and held up on appeal. Okay. Next stop, the Supreme Court or High Court. He doesn't have the money, so he just said, whatever. I'm not paying you. Now, here is a link. The gay police raided John's house and said, if you don't take this down, we will throw you in jail. That's what Luke McKee put on a Google blog with his own Google account. The police harassed him, and the police couldn't get it taken down. But the OTO pedophile cult got the court order to take down said blog, hence why the link is on archive.is. You can actually see the judge writing a paper saying, me and my law firm specializes in representing pedophiles. See, in Australia, with all this normalization of gay culture and the best cover a pedophile can have is being a gay marriage activist. Do you understand? You can drop a bomb on the Australian Christian lobby and there will be video of the police chief saying it wasn't a political attack the very next day. You understand? If it's really simple, guys. Women generally don't abuse children. There is 99 or 98% of pedophiles are not cougars, they're male. I'm sorry, I don't want it to be true because I'm male, but it's a fact. Okay. So a woman, by default, with the maternal instinct, is going to destroy any pedophile that comes near her own offspring, right? So male pedophiles, which are the bulk of pedophiles, will have a very hard time finding an accomplice to get a child to abuse who is female. You understand?
all of NAMBLA, all pedophiles love gay marriage. That's why infant sex lovers are running the fundraising for Gay Marriage Yes Vote in Australia, because it gives them a platform. Marriage is a platform to get the right. In fact, gays already have all the same rights now for everything that straight people do. They just want to defile the institution of marriage. That's what the plebiscite was about. They get no freedoms they didn't already have under civil partnerships, gay adoption, everything else. In fact, the greatest achievement on the gay and lesbian rights website, glrl.org.au, is equal age of consent. That's making it legal for a 60-year-old gay man with AIDS or a gay teacher to have sex with a 16-year-old boy. And now with the new laws to decriminalize the transmission of AIDS, said gay man who has legal sex with a 16-year-old boy can lie and say, I don't have AIDS, before he has sex with the boy. There you go. Your child is and then the gay police, if you see their Facebook page, facebook.com/policeglbti, last week they admitted they're partnered with 2010. Like I found out in 2007, got accused of the crime of obtaining information on police, 60C Crimes Act. That is a pedophile organization that's exposed on kidsrights.org.au. They run a dormitory for 12-year-old boys. If your child is brainwashed by this safe schools, okay? Knock on the door, police come to your house. You have been reported as a homophobe. As right now, they're saying Christians can't adopt children because we in the government believe you're too homophobic to raise a child. That's already happening in law now. Your 12-year-old boy says you're homophobe and you don't like your 12-year-old boy loving gay sex. We have deemed you unfit as a parent. We're now taking your 12-year-old boy to live with a bunch of gay pedophile activists just down the road from the King's Cross Wall, where gay judges do sex with children all day and do child prostitution, in Chippendale, New South Wales. 2010.org.au. And when Gary Burns sues people, he wants to donate all the money to the safe space for gay child prostitutes. And I'm investigating in Hanoi another safe space run by homosexuals for gay child prostitutes called the bluedragon.org. And my former employer, who I won't name because the sky will fall on me here in Vietnam, forced all of his workers to tithe 10% of their income to this charity that runs a safe space for street kids, which are all child prostitutes. In the district where all the foreigners fly into Hanoi for a layover. I mean, gays and children don't mix. Statistically, they're more likely to abuse children by a factor of 40, according to the HRC, 10 times, according to my dad, in case law, 20 times, in my opinion, at least. But they're saying that we must not be discriminated against, and you must have a gay teacher in Christian schools. We, the gay lobby, demand that religious schools remove their exemptions. Christian schools need to be defunded by the government. If you want to be exempt from anti-discrimination law, you should be exempt from government funding too. Now, there is a massive industry in the police. There is money to be made. That gay judge who ruled don't hate infant sex against my father and John Sun Ho, he works for the institutions which enabled pedophilia. He's the head of the Australian Commercial Arbitration Society, Alexander John Wakefield, who uses the fake name in court, John Wakefield. He was a choir boy at the Anglican school in Sydney, majoring in drama as well. He is a homosexual. He lives with his boyfriend in Surrey Hills. Okay? This is the person who, my dad said, I linked to the YouTube video, it auto plays in court. He testified to that. He put affidavits in saying that. The judge said in court, my father said the video about Mark Newton and Peter Trong saying it's homophobic to hate us raping babies doesn't autoplay. He publishes fake case law. John Sun Ho isn't allowed to call witnesses in his own defense in court. He's being treated like a mentally handicapped patsy and bullied.
by the gay lobby to make case law. They're already using this homosexual vilification law against the church and religious schools and in the terms of the settlement, to make the lawsuit go away, teach children to love gay sex. You've got the great Justice Kirby going on ABC television saying primary schools must teach safe sodomy in primary school. Boys under 12 must learn how to do safe sodomy. And everyone's saying, oh, Justice Kirby, you great queer hero who now works for the United Nations, attacking North Korea was the last time he probably popped up on your TV screen. And he's the patron saint of the Inner City Legal Centre, or ICLC on Twitter, who gets taxpayer-funded money. They've got a page on their website saying, you don't have to get your parents' permission to chop off your balls. Let me read it. Let me play browser history. ICLC. ICLC.org.au. I've done one of my videos. I go to my YouTube video, go to youtube.com.au, my channel, look for the video of the Inner City Legal Centre marching by in a gay pride parade. Okay, it's called, you can see a big rainbow families and kids there. You can actually see the gay lawyers marching past in the gay pride parade. I click on their own website, and I found what to do if you're trans and under 18, a taxpayer-funded gay lawyer government fact sheet. It says, what happens if the parents aren't in my life? If you're a young person under 18 and want to have treatment, and your parents are not part of your life or are not supporting you chopping your penis off after being indoctrinated by the government, then the law in your situation is different. It's too complex to spell it out here, but please call us so we can, take you to court against your parents against your parents' will, turn into a transgender child. Now, the OTO founded transgenderism, if you research them. Powerreligion.ch is written by an ex-member. And this anti-discrimination board and the special gay police was founded by an OTO operative. Dr. Gregory John Tillett worked as the conciliations officer for the Anti-Discrimination Board and a consultant for the Australian Human Rights Commission, then called HEROC, drafting all these crazy thought crime laws. On powerreligion.ch, he wrote the history of the OTO child sex cult in Australia. He's putting personal ads in newspapers to learn about the occult from the 80s, I found in my research, okay? He's basically a hardcore Satanist. He's expert on the OT. He's written a book called The Elder Brother about C.W. Leadbeater. That name might ring a bell if you study the occult. And he wrote the book about him in Australia. In fact, his thesis is online. He got his thesis into New South Wales Police covering up OTO members raping children. He's a PhD in child sex. His thesis is online at lead, as in lead pipe, LEAD, beta.org, see chapter 12.
Luke, you are a warrior, brother.
He founded the Special Gay Police. The Special Gay Police that's been a bane of my existence and made me a UNHCR declared political refugee from Australia that you can see on letterhead at bit.ly/AU refugee 2.
This
The
has
Special
been
Gay Police was founded by the OTO child sex cult, as well as these homosexual vilification laws. Occultists in government are linked to the gay lobby at the hip.
Your anger is righteous, brother. Your anger is righteous, and I'm going to ask that we bring you back on. This has been a lot of information for our viewers to take in tonight.
Give John his. Okay, John's been trying to get onto the chat. You've had technical problems.
Yeah, we're going to.
Your listeners need a break from me. This guy is a quiet, peaceful man who has just been the story of his abuse. See, I'm just an angry activist. And
I'm glad you're angry.
He is the patsy the gay lobby has persecuted to Guinness Book of Records. Imagine having 95 lawsuits from one militant gay activist who's trying to normalize sex with infants, and the government has spent millions of dollars and thousands of hours of court cases to appease this one nut job who's an OTO pedo operative, who's now going to the High Court to defend the right of the court in Victoria, sending New South Wales Christians directly to jail for vilifying OTO child sex cults. Okay, his High Court case, if he doesn't like Christians being sent to jail without trial for religious vilification, he should drop his High Court case. But no, he's there pushing it, saying when the judge sent the Christians to jail, directly to jail without going to the courtroom, and did an extrajudicial, extraordinary rendition. If the police pick you up and throw you in jail and they have no jurisdiction to do so, as confirmed by the highest court in Australia, it is a legal fact, at least according to 3 judges on the New South Wales Supreme Court of Appeals, in the case of Gaynor, Corbett and Burns, this year on the 3rd of March. The case law. Go look it up.
I gotta interrupt you, Luke, with the gentleness and kindness and most humble. We're coming up on the 2 hour and 15. If there's any way we can bring you and John back on for another show, because we're not going to get it all in one show.
I don't see John on here, by the way.
Yeah, he's having technical problems, but I'm right now on my Gmail, and I see him here on a call with me on Gmail, which makes no sense. I've asked him to try and get on.
It looked like he came in and out a couple times, but what we'll do is we'll reschedule you for both of you guys to come on.
Just do a solo with John. He needs his voice.
Well, we also want you to come on with me, Luke.
Okay.
You are a warrior. You have the information. You have fought this fight. The Father has put the Ruach in you not to be quiet and not to sit down and not to give in or give up. And I applaud you, sir. This is the first time I've met you.
My dad gave up. He fled Australia and went to New Zealand.
You sir, have not given up.
And when he left the country, Gary Burns, the gay activist, put on his Facebook the exact time that my father went through customs. How can a gay stalker who's threatening to rape my daughter, who's been sending mail to my mother's address in Australia, harassing my mother, he's broken up my family's marriage. How can this gay stalker who's got his friends on the internet threatening to, kill everyone in my mother's house, who's online, he's got a hate page with my wife's picture on his blog. He's meant to be the peak gay marriage activist in Australia, and he was the first gay man on TV in Australia after Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister, first mentioned the abomination on his Facebook. It's time for gay marriage in Australia, that kicked off this mess that ended with 60% of the Australian population saying gay men should marry, we should destroy the Christian institution of marriage, and it is okay for gay men to breed and get children by paying third world women in Nazi baby factories to take their HIV semen as advertised on BritishSurrogacyCentre.com heterosexual surrogacy page by Gay Dads on Twitter, who makes a documentary about American women doing the same. Poor American woman on food stamps breeding for the gay elite. That's how enslaved your population is, and they make infomercials about the exploitation of American women that broadcast on information.tv, the Sky 192 infomercial channel. Buy your American woman's womb, Europeans. If you're the gay elite, it give you 100,000 grand and we can rent out an American woman's vagina. That is the gay lobby. Go watch the Parrot Makers documentary he calls it a documentary. It's an infomercial broadcast selling a product on British TV where he gets his own test tube baby to say only sodomites make the best dads. You must be a sodomite to be a dad. This is how sick the enemy is. And these people threaten you with death if you challenge them.
Luke, this has been a very, very tough show. It's one of the toughest I have ever been involved with the information that you've given and with the gentleness and humbleness. I want our viewers to go back and review this, go back and check your websites out, and verify and join the fight, join with you. John and I, you've involved us now. And I know John's got a final word here, and we're going to bring you back on because this is a topic that is serious. This is a topic that needs to be out there and discussed. And I'm going to bring John on for a final word, and we're going to pray and end the show and get you another date so that you and John can come on together and he can tell his story as well. And I'm sorry that he's had technical difficulties. So John, please come on, sir.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Luke, for coming on here, and John for doing a lot of the hosting of the show. I appreciate you guys a lot. I just want to end with this. Okay. So a lot of people wonder, what can we do? And of course, there's organizations we can support. Of course, there's information we can get out to help people realize that they need to be very watchful of their children and not allow just anybody to take care of them. And even the people you trust sometimes cannot be. You still have to keep an eye on your children. You need to maintain a really good relationship with them and make them feel comfortable being able to tell you anything, because that's the key right there, is them being able to be comfortable and not shameful in telling you anything that might happen to them. And you really need to make sure that you develop that relationship. Also, in Deuteronomy 28, this is one of my favorite scriptures. It talks about the blessings that will overtake you and the curses that overtake you. The blessings if you obey the word, the curses if you do not. And what I see going on in the United States and Australia and Canada, in China, you name it, just everybody who has abandoned the laws of the Most High, the laws, the instructions, the guidance, the rule book on life, everybody who has abandoned that is going through these things. There are Christians out there that don't even realize that they're supposed to read the Old Testament or even follow the Old Testament. But one of the things in Deuteronomy 28 that strikes me, and this is what comes in my head every time I hear this, Deuteronomy 28:32, this is for the people that decide to disobey everything that he commanded to them on that day, which if you read Deuteronomy, you'll see the commandments there. It says, your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, while your eyes look on and fail with longing for them all day long, but you shall be helpless. And this is just one of the curses, very small, one of the curses, but it is the thing that has really taken hold of this world right now, because like I've said before, like our whole point of this whole show is to lead people not only to the Messiah, but also to the truth of his word and following him the way he followed and walked out his Father's instructions. And many people don't understand that. The Christian church has not taught that because they've been taken over by a lot of these same people that we're talking about today, and they will not teach you the way to instructions. They'll say, here's the dresser, good luck putting it together. And that's exactly what's happened. They don't have, if anybody's ever put together like one of those dressers that comes in about 50 pieces, or one of those tables that comes in, or just a rope, like a Lego set that comes in thousands of different pieces without instructions. Sure, you have the Lego set, but you don't know how to put it together, and you'll never know how to put it together the way it's supposed to put together. And so I want to encourage each of you that are believers to get in the word. The Bible says, humble yourself and pray. And it also says to turn to the commandments of our Father. Those are the ways to protect yourself. Those are protection. The Bible is clear that these are our protection. This is what will protect you. This is what will guide you. And as you continue doing that through life, it'll build a hedge around you and your family. And sure, there will become times when we may be murdered and persecuted for our faith. But these curses that it talks about in Deuteronomy 28 are reserved for those that do not want to care about the commandments anymore. And sure, so there's a lot of good people getting thrown under the bus as well. And but I would encourage you guys to look at the instruction manual, go for it, bow to the Father, just put everything on the line for him, because he's the one that made us all, and he showed us the instructions through life, and we need to understand those instructions. We need to. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go through them, read them. I know a lot of people will tell you, you have to understand the Midrash, you have to understand the Talmud, you have to understand all these things. I disagree with that 100%. I believe the words are written. They're written for a child to understand. If my children, I can sit and read to them and helping them understand the word, you can do the same thing. We don't need anything other than his word to get us through these moments in time. And we need to pray against this stuff. We need to go in spiritual warfare and pray against this stuff happening in your own city and anywhere you have influence. Pray against it, inform people, and do your very best. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming on. Be blessed and high five, guys. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you for coming on, Luke.
Okay,
Shalom,
no
everyone.
problem.